After 20 years in power, Turkey's longtime leader is now facing a runoff election. It could have huge implications for the NATO alliance and the war in Ukraine. This morning, it looks like Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan has failed to secure the 50% vote threshold to avoid a runoff. Turkey, obviously a key NATO ally, and has the second largest military in the alliance. But Erdogan has maintained close ties with Russia at the same time throughout its brutal invasion of Ukraine. And he continues to block Sweden from joining NATO, which would be a huge blow to Vladimir Putin. No one better to talk to about all of this and the broad implications than CNN chief international anchor Christiana Amanpour. Good morning.
Hi.
2 years and a very complex relationship between Erdogan and Turkey and NATO and the United States, because they've proved critical in some ways, the grain deal, et cetera, but also they've proved to be very difficult.
They're difficult. Turkey is a difficult ally because, as you pointed out, it's so important. I mean, NATO has so many countries, but Turkey is the second biggest military, and right, so it's on the ground, so it's easily deployable. But over the years, Turkey has, particularly under Erdogan, starting about 20 years ago, when he actually opened up and democratized Turkey, which was very heavily militarized. Yeah. And then, with various challenges like the Gezi Park protests in the 2013, then the attempted coup against him a few years later, he cracked down and he started to become a lot more authoritarian. And that is what's made him incredibly unpredictable when it comes to being a rock-solid Western ally. And of course, before, Turkey used to be kind of the de facto bridge between East and West.
Sure.
But under Erdogan, they have dropped their attempts to get into the EU because there's a lot of conditions that they are unwilling to meet.
Yeah.
So, what does it say to you that this is going to a runoff, that he couldn't get 50% of the vote, and the referendum of him that is?
Well, it is a referendum. He actually went into this for the first time lagging in the votes. Now, what you've seen is the vote count has shown that he actually took more of the vote in the first round than his challenger, and the challenger is, part of a coalition. They banded together to see if they could, in fact, unseat him. Not in this way, no. And now, though, it looks the Election Commission has said that his votes are more. He's got 49+%. But yeah, he has not made it across the finish line yet. To be fair, the Turkish system has never had a runoff. It has had only since 2018. So he won handily the first time. So you can't say it's the first time in 20 years that he's faced a runoff. But it's the first time since they've had a runoff that he's faced a runoff and hasn't won outright.
I think many in the West, certainly for the first time, are learning the name Kemal Kilicdaroglu.
Good, well done.
How did I do?
Okay. We've been practicing it all morning.
Yeah.
All morning. But really what I find is so interesting is his statement in the last few hours was, any struggle necessary. Our people should be confident that we will definitely win. We'll see. But what he has put forward is such a contrast to Erdogan, right? He's talked about the price of onions. He filmed this video in his modest kitchen. He's trying to say, I am so different from your current president.
And not only that, he's touching on the thing that's motivated most voters, and that is the cost of living crisis.
Yes.
The economic crisis is very, very severe. If you look at any reports that are coming out of there, lots of interviews by ordinary people who have to make a living and who have to eat. Many people who've been voting AKP, which is Erdogan's party, for years, and he has a very strong base, are saying, look, we are doing worse off than our families did all these years ago. We who used to eat chicken or meat, once a week, are now maybe doing it, once a month. So that on top of the earthquake, which killed some 50,000 people and which highlighted the corruption that they have blamed, to the Turkish government for allowing builders and others to pay people under the table and have shoddy construction. But he's a very good and canny politician, this Erdogan. And he knows, and he has a very fervent base. He is a politician. He used to be mayor of Istanbul. He knows what it means to be a politician. The other gentleman was an economist. He knows exactly what has to be done to get the economy back on track, which is what people need. But some people have said so far anyway, his campaign style has not matched that of Erdogan. We'll see.
And the reason the implications for this are so profound, of course, go to Ukraine at the heart of that.
At the moment, yeah.
The other thing that we saw over the weekend, this development that was striking to me, is that the Prigozhin, who is the mercenary chief of the Wagner group that's been helping Russia fight in Ukraine, that back in January, he reportedly offered to Ukrainian intelligence services the positions of Russian troops, basically they would have the intent of firing upon them, offered them those positions if Ukraine withdrew their soldiers from that key city of Bakhmut, where we've seen such intense fighting. What was your reaction when you saw that
Well, look,
report?
I mean, it is absolutely really an intense situation, because what Prigozhin is doing with his Wagner group is challenging Putin without challenging Putin. He never attacks Putin himself, but he's constantly attacking, Shoigu and Gerasimov, the two major military, the defense minister and the army commander. And, he's trying to put himself in a good position with Putin, and he has the only troops that apparently are willing to go there. But you've seen that it actually hasn't worked yet. I mean, they've tried and they've tried and they've tried and they've tried, and they have not achieved success in Bakhmut. And it is a terrible meat grinder there. But the forces who are achieving slightly more success right now are the Ukrainian troops. And Zelensky's in London
I was just gonna
today.
ask you about that.
Yeah. Well, he's been on a weekend tour of EU and allied NATO capitals, saying, if you want us to go on this counteroffensive,
We need more help.
Yeah, we do, and we need the weapons that you've been promising, and we need more. And the British have been actually quite forward-leaning, because they have said that they want to, and they're ready to provide the much longer-range missiles that the Americans have so far not wanted to provide.
And Germany. Also,
Right, which is
giving them so much money.
Yeah.
More than double, I think, than what they were doing before.
I mean, if the NATO strategy and the US strategy is for Putin to lose, then they have to enable Ukraine to win.
Thank you.
Christiana Amanpour, no one better to discuss all of that with.
So
Thank you so
true.
much.
Thank you.
The ballots are still being counted, but Turkey's most consequential presidential election in decades appears to be heading for a runoff. Preliminary results show Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the increasingly authoritarian leader who's ruled his country for 20 years, is leading, but he's just below the 50% threshold needed to secure an outright victory. Senator Jumana Karaca joins me now live in Istanbul. So this is probably going to a runoff. Where does that leave the two contenders here?
Well, that's what it looks like at this point, Max. The electoral board saying that they've counted more than 99% of the ballots that were cast. And so far, they have President Erdogan at 49.40%, followed by Kemal Kilicdaroglu, the opposition's candidate, of 44.96%. So the most likely scenario here, with neither of them, especially if you look at President Erdogan's numbers, not achieving that 50+1 that was required to win the presidency, it is most likely headed to a runoff in about 2 weeks' time on May the 28th. And we've heard from both sides saying that they are ready for this. The opposition, just a short time ago, the main opposition party, the CHP, coming out and saying that they are ready for this runoff, as we heard from their leader yesterday as well, that if this is the will of the Turkish people, they are ready for this. But they're also trying to continue to sound hopeful and optimistic. But this, no doubt, Max, has been a big blow for an opposition that for the first time came together under this unified banner of a coalition of the people, that they were presenting one candidate to try and unseat President Erdogan. And there was really this feeling that they might have that chance of doing so. And they were promising people change. They were promising to take this country back to being a real democracy, trying to reverse years of President Erdogan's rule. And you had a lot of people who were really optimistic about this coalition, seeing them unified, seeing them more galvanized than ever. And right now, a lot of people are disappointed. And on the other side, you've got President Erdogan, who is not used to losing, 20 plus years of being at the top. And, while he hasn't secured that 50%, while this is a likely scenario where it is heading towards a runoff, but again, they're still counting the rest of the ballots. This, for President Erdogan as well, is a win, Max, because if you look at the situation in this country, you look at how unhappy many Turks have been with his leadership. There was a lot of speculation that this might be it. This might be Erdogan's last stand, as many had described it. But he has managed to emerge from this at this point pretty much unscathed, despite the state of the economy that is blamed on his policies, despite of the criticism that he and his government got following that devastating earthquake, with the disastrous initial rescue response to that and the lack of preparedness. You still look at these numbers, and he still has the support of about 50% of the country. And what these results do tell us, Max, is what we've always known, that this is a really divided country, and it's really a reflection of the polarization in Turkey.